Boom, boom, boom.
Okay, we're live now. I'll just wait for few people to join in before we start. We have few people coming in. So, so all the viewers, if you can hear us and if the audio is good, just please, give us a thumbs up, and we will then start off, with our today's topic. It's going to be really interesting, I'm sure. Hi, Shanita ma'am. All right. So, welcome everyone to another series of another episode of Dogspot Live series. My name is Srishti Sharma. I'm the founder of PetRT. I am a certified canine trainer, and so the company is majorly about customized pet furniture and premium training-based equipments and working dog equipment as well. And today we have with us Joris, and he's been he's been working with the Belgian police from so he's been into actually training from a very young age, and he's worked with Belgian police as well as a dog trainer over there, decoy dog handler, and he's been training from past almost, I would say, since about 2011. You told me even before that, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, and he's also given a lot of various seminars in different countries all over the world, like Canada, Argentina, and many more. And today we have him with us on board. He'd be discussing all of his experience that he's gained over the past so many years working with different styles. He's also a Nipopo trainer, and Nipopo is basically a concept which has been developed by Bart and Michael Bellin. And so now I'll hand it over to Joris, for so he can just give a brief introduction about how did he plan to make training, get into dog training, make it his profession, and how it all turned out to be when he planned to shift to Texas to US, and how it all actually started with him. So over to you, Joris.
So, I would say good evening for all the people in India. It's currently 7 o'clock in the morning in Austin, Texas. So, like Srishti said, my name is Joris Kerckhof. I am originally from Belgium. I was a member of the Belgian Federal Police for over 15 years, where I
Oh wow.
worked as a dog handler
Mm-hmm.
in patrol units and also in detection on people, narcotic dogs that are sniffing on people in
Wow.
movement, in big dance
Wow.
clubs, on raves. Like, of course, you have the Goa in India. Well, we have those dance scenes also in Belgium. Then
Right.
in 2011, I went to New York in the USA with my patrol dog Rhea, where I won the gold medal on the World Police Games, and that's how it
Wow.
all started.
Wow.
Doors started to go open. I got invited to do some seminars. The year later, I went to Canada. Like you said, I did seminars in Argentina, in Brazil. Um,
Wow.
I worked in Dubai. I trained the K9 unit for the Presidential Guard of Sheikh bin
Wow.
Zayed. In 2016, I made a step to come to the USA to live here, and now here I am with Quadrant Canine, my little company, and I'm
Right.
specializing in personal protection dogs. I'm specializing in dog sports. I do a lot of behavior modification. I do a lot of aggression cases, and like you mentioned already before, I am one of the graduates from the Lipopo School from Michael and Bart Bellon.
Right. Amazing, amazing. So that brings us obviously with you a lot of information in terms of not just basic pet training, but also advanced training, as you mentioned, bomb sniffer dog, truck sniffer dogs, and in general personal protection. So that's been quite a journey. So today, as we have today's topic is about operant conditioning. So if you could just briefly touch upon the topic, and could just explain what exactly is operant conditioning to the viewers, and how further we can go about it into the technicalities, and how it can be implemented in the usual life, not just for pet parents, but for anyone basically who's working around dogs and who's been raising dogs. So if we start off with what exactly is operant conditioning as per you, as per your knowledge?
Okay, that's a good one. As for me, because
Right,
there is the general definition, but
right,
that's
right,
also what we make it for ourselves. So first of
right.
all, um, I did not invent anything. There are other people with bigger degrees in psychology that discovered things decades ago. There
Right,
are there are two ways of working. There is the classical conditioning, Pavlov,
right,
the doorbell, the dog that starts to
right.
saliva for the ball
Salvation.
and the foot.
Right,
And then we have, of
right.
course, operant conditioning. Operant conditioning Skinner. Now, what is operant conditioning for me? Operant conditioning for me means that we create a spontaneous behavior.
Hmm.
The dog creates a spontaneous behavior.
Right,
And that spontaneous behavior, that can be something that we like, or it can be something that we dislike.
right.
What we like,
Hmm.
we will positively reinforce.
Right.
What we
Correct.
dislike, with what we dislike, we will ignore,
Hmm.
or we will or we will aversive stim that away so that the dog is never doing it again.
Right. Got
Now,
it.
I say it again, operant conditioning, the creation of a spontaneous behavior that we like or that we dislike. What we like, we
Mhm.
will positively reinforce. What we dislike, we will ignore, or we will aversive stim that away. Now,
Right.
op- operant conditioning not only works for dogs, it also works for human beings in
Humans. Correct.
life.
Correct.
In
That's
life,
true.
life is
That's
full. Life is full of classical and operant conditioning. Now,
true.
when you create a behavior on a dog in an operant way by not asking him what to do, but by letting him self-discovering things,
Hmm.
I believe that it's much stronger in the heart because the dog is doing
Right.
something and he gets rewarded for it.
Right.
Once that the dog is doing it multiple times, then
Hmm.
we can give that behavior a name.
Correct.
When the dog is doing what we ask him to do,
Hmm.
then our operant conditioning flips over in classical conditioning because operant conditioning under stimulus control becomes an act of classical conditioning. I ask you what to do, you do. In operant conditioning, we are quiet, we let the dog discover. And what the
Right.
dog is discovering that we like, again, we will positively reinforce.
Reinforce.
So
Correct.
that's
Correct.
for me is very powerful in life
Right.
with animals, with dogs, with horses
Right.
in
Right.
general.
Right. Awesome. So also, as you have that chart over on your T-shirt, the print on your T-shirt, yeah, that one. So that I think as you also mentioned that it basically comes under operant conditioning. So these four basically plus R plus P minus P. These basically are the four quadrants of operant conditioning. Correct.
Correct.
So yeah, so if you could just briefly explain those four quadrants as well, so I think it's going to be much more easier. The way you explained it is actually in a very simplest possible way. So I'm pretty sure a lot of viewers would be able to relate because as you correctly mentioned, it's not just applicable on dogs but also on humans as well. On the day-to-day lives, every time we're experiencing something good or bad, obviously it's either getting reinforced, any of our behaviors either getting reinforced, or obviously it's going to vanish because of the consequence that we're getting. So if you could just briefly in a slightly more detail, if you could understand the four quadrants as well, that would, I think, help the viewers understand and relate to what you said much better.
Yeah. So first of all, let's start with things in a positive way, because
Right.
life should be positive. Our communication,
Right.
our conversation needs to be positive.
Mhm.
In the four quadrants, we have two reinforcements and we have two punishments.
Right.
The positive does not mean that it's good. The positive means that positive is plus, we add something. The
Right.
minus is the negative, but the negative does not mean that it's negative. The negative
Right.
means we take something away.
Right.
So, if you do something for me and I will give you money,
Mhm.
then that money is for you a positive reinforcement.
Right.
If I have money in my hands and you do something for me, but you are not doing it good enough, you're not doing
Right.
it immediately, you're not doing
Right.
it fast enough, if I take the money away,
Mhm.
it is a negative punishment.
Right.
So, why do I start with positive reinforcement and negative punishment? In dog training, we can work in a purely positive way, which
Right.
we can also call, which we also can call the po-po training way.
Right. Right.
A lot of people do not realize, do not think, do not understand that in a purely positive way of training, you can also have a punishment. And the punishment of purely positive training is taking the reward away and
Right.
finishing, time out, finishing, stop what you're doing.
Right.
Now, you and I, we like to have money because money allows us to buy food, to buy water, to have a roof above our
Clear
head, to have
bills.
a
Right.
motorbike, to have a car,
Correct.
to live in a good life.
Right.
The paycheck for the dog has to
Mhm.
be the food.
Right.
The ball that you throw, the bite that you give is not going to
Mhm.
fill the tummy.
Right.
The only thing that fills the tummy or the belly is the food. So,
Right.
positive reinforcement, we add food. Negative punishment, we take the food away.
Right. All right.
So, we had positive reinforcement. Let's
Mhm.
go to negative reinforcements.
Right.
Negative reinforcement means that we are taking a reinforcer away to make the dog doing.
All right.
Now we have to ask ourselves a very important question. Why does a dog do? A dog is doing for two reasons. To better his own situation.
Mhm.
So if I'm the wolf in nature and I'm hungry, if I don't hunt, if I don't chase the little
Right.
Bambi,
Right.
the little Bambi will not jump into my mouth and say, "Please eat me."
Correct. That's true.
That's not going to happen.
Right.
So
Makes sense.
so the wolf needs to chase, needs to hunt to
Right.
fill the stomach.
Right.
Now, with negative reinforcement, we take something away on the
Mhm.
moment that the dog is doing. So I said,
Right.
why does the dog do? A dog does to better his own situation, and
Right.
a dog does also to take away the discomfort.
Right.
The dog tries to figure out how can I avoid the discomfort.
Right.
Therefore, negative reinforcement training,
Mhm.
NEPO training can
Mhm.
also be called avoidance training.
Okay.
So in negative reinforcement, we're going to try to avoid the negative feeling, and when we do, or when the dog does what we want him to do, the negative feeling goes away. So from negative, we flip over into positive.
All right.
That
All
is
right.
why it's called a reinforcement,
Correct.
negative reinforcement. So
Right.
I'm going to start over. Positive reinforcement, we add something when the dog is doing.
Right.
Negative reinforcement, we take the negative, the bad feeling away when the dog is doing.
Right.
Negative punishment, we take away what the dog wants when he is not doing what we want him to do, when he is disobeying, when he is not motivated, when he has no fire, when he has no heart and soul.
Correct.
Then we come to the fourth one, which is actually the third one. If we go positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, positive punishment, negative punishment. Positive punishment means that, like I said, the positive does not mean that it's good. The positive means that we add something, we add a punishment.
All
So,
right.
a punishment is a correction. You can only correct the dog if the dog is speaking and understanding your language. That means that if you think that you give a correction, but your dog has no clue what you're expecting him to do, then it can never be a correction.
Right.
So, positive punishment, we add a stimulation of the e-collar. We add a little pop on the pinch collar.
Right.
We choke on the dominant dog collar. We take
Right.
the air away. Those are
Right.
things that we add those things in the
Right.
system of our
Right.
training when the dog is doing something that we don't want him to do, where he should know better.
Okay. All right.
The risk, the risk in dog training is that people do not understand the difference between a correction and a aversive stimulation.
Right.
Aversive stimulation, I mentioned that word 5 minutes ago. When we were talking about the definition of operant conditioning, I said operant conditioning is creating a spontaneous behavior that we like, and
Right.
we will positively reinforce that.
Right.
What we don't like, we will ignore, we will close our eyes till it goes away, or we will give an aversive stimulation. Aversive
All right.
stimulation means you do something, but I don't want you to do that, but I give you the chance to do different things.
All right.
Correction means positive punishment. Correction means you have done something that you know that you are not allowed to do. So
Right.
stop doing that negative behavior.
All right. All right.
Back to
All right.
you.
Awesome. So I think you've pretty much explained in a very again simplified way, and I think that most of the people would have now been able to understand better what exactly is are the four quadrants and how to actually use it. But we would also be talking it about in about a bit more detail in practical implementation. So once we are able to give examples on how to actually apply it in the daily life for either a dog trainer or a pet owner, then I think it's going to be much more easier for them to relate to. But we have Anand who's saying, I wish people would get a child trainer, they get there for their dogs. And you actually are making a lot of sense by how actually beautifully and in a very simplified way you're actually explaining all of it. But we before we move on to the practical implications of it, we have a question by Kashi. He's asking which out of these four are the least used in dog training. Like again, as per your experience, which one have you seen the least to be used among the dog trainers in general?
So, like I said, the only way to correct in a purely positive training system
Hmm.
is by applying the negative punishment.
Right.
I believe that negative punishment is the quadrant that is used the least in dog training because people don't know, understand, or realize.
Right.
What you don't know, you cannot love. If I don't know you, I cannot love you. If I don't know, if I don't have a dog, if I never saw a dog in my life, then I cannot know what kind of love and passion the dog can give to me.
Right.
Now, and this is something that Michael and Bart are speaking about in the Bible of dog training, Nipopo.
Hmm.
If people would be able to work with negative punishment,
Hmm.
then there is no necessity of positive punishment.
All right.
But
Makes sense.
the problem is, we think in a rational way. We can think about life, we can talk about culture, we can talk about history, we can talk about psychology. We can rationalize things. And
Right.
by rationalizing things, we also put too much thoughts in things and we put too much emotions.
Right.
And emotions are the killer of good dog training. Because for the dog, it's black or white. There is no,
Right.
maybe when the sun comes up and the rain stops, I will have a
Right.
better life.
Right.
It doesn't work like that.
Right. True. Makes
We
sense.
we human beings are the cause and the mistake of what our dog is doing wrong.
Right.
Because our dogs are only doing what we allow them to do, what we make them to do, and what we
Right.
allow and make them to do wrong.
Right. True. That's true.
That's why there are dog trainers. If
True.
if everyone could train his dog by himself without causing problems that we cannot solve by ourselves, you would not have a job and I would not have a job.
Right. True.
So it's a
That's true.
good thing.
Right. So negative punishment, let's say, to simplify it a bit more, and for obviously a lot of trainers who've joined us, they still would be able to, relate to and understand to what you're saying. But to simplify it a bit more for, let's say, the usual pet owners who've joined us today for the session, negative punishment would, correct me if I'm wrong, would more of mean, like, for example, we're taking a training session with our dog. So for example, I'm training Nix, I'm training her for a certain command, and let's say if she is not performing or she's not giving me the right behavior of what actually I'm expecting or I want her to do, I will, obviously, negative punishment means that the food that I have, the reward that I have, or let's say the ball that I have, I will not give it to her. I will withhold it with me, and probably I'll just give her a repetition or two, not more than that. And if I feel she's not doing, I will end the session right there. Food gone, toy gone, and she will not basically get it. That's what negative punishment is, basically.
Yes, and I will simplify it for the
Hmm.
people.
Right.
I will simplify it with money. Okay?
Okay. Okay.
When we talk about money, everybody pays attention.
Yeah,
Voilà.
exactly. True. True.
Paycheck, paycheck. Where
Right.
is the money? Where is the money? That's the first question. The dog needs
Right.
to say, where is my money?
Right.
The
Right.
money for the dog is the food.
Right.
If an hour before you train your dog, you give a bowl of food on the ground and you give free food and the dog can just eat whatever that he wants,
Right.
the love of the man and the dog are going through the belly.
Right.
If I'm not hungry, if I have a full belly, why would I be motivated to do something?
Exactly. Exactly. True.
What
Right.
is the extra for me?
Right.
Okay, the extra
Right.
for me is maybe the chocolate dessert or the nice glass of liquor.
Right.
but that is not essential. That is
Right.
not essential what we need in life.
Right.
So the money, if I have $100
Right.
in my hands,
Right.
and I ask you to come to me,
Right.
and I give you $5,
Right.
and I ask you to come to me again, and I give you $10. The next time that I ask you to come to me, you will
I'll come
come.
running.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're
Right.
gonna jump in. You're gonna jump into my arms.
Right. Right.
And if you
Understood.
jump in, and if you jump into my arms, I'm gonna give you all the money. I'm gonna give you the jackpot.
Understood. All
Now
right.
tomorrow, when you see me and you see my money, without me asking anything, you will come to me.
Right.
That is in a perfect world when everything is going well. Now, the world is not perfect.
Right.
The world is not perfect at all. So, how does it goes wrong? If I ask you to do something and I
Mm-hmm.
give you too much money for only a small task, and then I ask you to do something serious for me
Mm-hmm.
and I give you little money,
Mm-hmm.
then you're gonna say, hey, this is not worth it for me.
Right.
So if you don't do what I'm asking you to do, the money goes away and we stop.
Okay. All right.
Tomorrow we're gonna start over, and tomorrow the first thing that I will ask you to do is the thing that you refused to do for me yesterday.
Right.
If you do it, I give you everything.
Right.
If you don't do it,
Right.
I don't give you money. And no
Right.
money means no food.
Right. Makes sense.
And again, there we come again with the emotions. People do not dare not to feed their dog for 12 or 24 hours.
Mhm.
I don't eat 3 times a day.
Right.
Sometimes I don't
It's
eat because I don't have
right.
time.
Right.
I see when I don't eat, I'm moving faster, I'm moving quicker,
Mm-hmm.
because in my body something says, okay, go, 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 go.
Right.
I don't have that feeling of saturation in my stomach.
Right.
If I have that feeling of saturation in my stomach, I want to rest and I'm going to be lazy.
True.
If I eat too much and I don't have activity, I will create overweight.
Right.
A lot of dogs are not healthy because of the
Yeah.
overweight.
True.
Because
That's true.
people are selfish sometimes. People don't think about the dog. People think about their self, about
Emotions. Right.
the positive feeling, the
Right.
emotions that they are
Right.
creating for themselves.
Right. That's true. That's true.
Why does a dog do? A dog does to better his own situation and to
Right.
take away a
For the
discomfort.
food. Right.
It's
Right.
simple.
I
It's
think,
so simple.
yeah, I think it's more or less as you also, I think, use pretty much similar, example to what I also used to suggest to a lot of my clients. It's the same, like, let's say, for example, I hire someone. If they are obviously, when it comes to giving them the salary only comes after the work has been done, the end of the month. So we get our salary. For example, if I start working for you from October, I'd be getting my salary in the first week of November after you've analyzed all of my work that I've done over the month, right? And similarly, if I've taken out of those 30 days, if I've taken an off for, let's say, 5 days, you will be cutting my salary for those 5 days. If I'm working overtime for you, you'd be paying me extra for the overtime. Similarly, when it comes to training the dog, that's actually how it's supposed to be. That before giving them their salary, which is the exactly bowl full of their meal, first they need to work for us for the 5, 10, 15 minutes of session that we've planned for them. If they're doing it right, they'll get their full salary. If they did something that we were not really expecting, but they did it out of the drive and the excitement and the curiosity, we would be giving probably, as you said, again, correct me if I'm wrong, some sort of additional reward to it. If they're not doing it, probably we'll cut down the salary the same way we cut it down for humans, for them to be able to relate it better. on how they're supposed to perform. And as you said, if from after certain repetitions they'll start to understand and they'll start to relate that okay, my handler, the main trainer, and food in their hand, it means I have to go at the speed of a rocket and just start with the training and displaying all of the behaviors that's needed. So actually that I could actually completely relate to that, because when I used to go in for trainings, that's the exact same example I also used to suggest to a lot of dog owners. So yes, that's actually a very very valid point. We have another question by Kashi. He's saying, please explain a teaching of a single behavior using all four quadrants. For example, retrieving. So, like retrieving any article, a dumbbell or a slipper, or just their usual food bowl. So,
Okay, a retrieve behavior. Very nice, very good question, Kashi. I was expecting Kashi having some good questions.
yeah, true.
If we want the dog to pick up something and to bring it to us, in a lot of cases, the dog is not willingly to do it.
Right,
But if we have an empty bowl of food standing somewhere or in the kennel, suddenly you see that dog biting in his bowl and he's carrying the bowl around. So
right,
the dog is doing it again in an operant, in a spontaneous way.
right,
When we want him to do it, he is not doing it. So
right,
again, that bowl for the dog means food. So
right,
if the dog is doing that in a spontaneous way, why not reward that by giving the dog some food?
right.
Now we're gonna come to the point of retrieving a behavior. Michael and Bart have something that is called the unforced forced fetch.
All right.
I'm not going to go in detail, but the unforced forced fetch means that when the dog is doing what we want him to do, we will reinforce that. That can
All
be
right.
with your finger, that can be with a bottle.
All right.
If the dog understands that if I hold something, I get my rewards, then you can build up the behavior of retrieving something. After that, you throw it away.
All right.
But do not expect you throwing away something that the dog is going to bring it back. Some dogs
Right.
will do. Some dogs will
Right.
do because they just like to please you. And
Right.
for them, doing a certain behavior is for them very rewarding.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, correct, correct. It actually makes perfect sense. All right. So also, I think it's also important to when we have to teach retrieve behavior or any behavior in general that involves a lot of things. For example, for retrieve, we're teaching the dog to go and retrieve a dumbbell or let's say any article, a bottle of water. Let's say a pet owner training the dog to retrieve their own leash or retrieve their own bowl. Obviously in that what's involved is that we're teaching the dog to go retrieve it, come back to us, and then on the command either drop it or out, whatever cue we decide. So obviously it's also I think important to break it, as you said, using these four quadrants. We can also teach the dog. First we have to break it into smaller and different exercises, and then just understand what how which technique or which sort of quadrant, obviously after reading the dog and understanding how we can actually implement it further in the training and teach the dog that after we've taught the certain behavior in various different segments, then we can probably combine it together, make it fun, and then we can probably teach the dog.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm going to use the four quadrants for Kashi with the dumbbell. Okay,
Right. Right.
when the dog is holding the dumbbell, we
Hmm.
give him a physical praise.
Okay.
Okay, When the dog
Okay.
is holding the Dumbo, we praise the dog over the head, for example.
All right.
When the dog is holding the Dumbo but only half, we can use negative reinforcement by tapping
Mm-hmm.
or stimulation or
Mm-hmm.
holding the little choke rope by
Right.
making the dog gasping a little bit, where the negative feeling is going away
Right.
when the dog holds the dumbbell properly.
Okay.
When the dog holds the dumbbell properly
Mm-hmm.
and he drops it
Mm-hmm.
without us allowing to drop it, we
Mm-hmm.
can add that positive punishment.
All
That
right.
positive punishment can be the stimulation of the e-collar, for example.
All right. All right.
Then, when the dog has the dumbbell and he drops it,
Mm-hmm.
a very powerful thing is I give it to you, you don't want it, I take it away, and we stop training.
Right. Correct.
That's negative punishment.
Correct. Correct. Okay.
Now, the problem with dog training is that if you are my client and you pay me to train your dog for an hour,
Mm-hmm.
if you do bite work and your dog
Mm-hmm.
bites, but he outs the sleeve, and I say,
Okay.
okay, sleeve goes away, dog goes in the kennel,
I understood
and
where
I
you're going.
and I tell you, okay, we're done.
Right.
Then you're gonna say, but hey, Joris, I
Right.
paid you for 60 minutes, not
Right.
for six, not for 6 seconds.
Right. Right.
But
That
there should
that's
there should
something
not be
ridiculous.
there should not be anything else to do.
Right.
Because
Right.
if we say in 5 minutes, okay, let's try again, then we
Mm-hmm.
teach the dog that the first time we take you out, you can mess around, not a problem. Because if you mess around, we put you up, and after 5 minutes, we
We
take
get
you again,
right. Correct.
and it becomes a game. It becomes a game.
Right. Right. Right.
For example, people say to the dog, sit, sit,
Right.
sit, sit,
Right.
sit. And then
Right.
after 5 times, the dog is sitting, and then they say, "Oh, good boy, good boy."
Right.
No, no, no. If I'm the dog
Right.
and you say 5 times sit, and after 5 times, if I do it, you reward me, I can guarantee you tomorrow you have to say it 6 times. And next
Correct.
week, I will only go and sit after 15 times.
Right. That's true.
You have to stop that negative thing.
Right.
And again, it's about the emotions.
Correct. That's true. That's true.
I'm not sure if everybody here is gonna like what I say.
No, no,
But
you're actually explaining it, the right way. We are actually talking about, the in a way we've moved on to the other topic, which is practical application, and it actually makes perfect sense because that's actually true. A lot of times we get our emotions come in between, dog training. We have to understand you- what I also personally feel is that a lot of pet owners, I would say, uh, they struggle to put their emotions aside when they're training the dog. What they are failing to understand is that that is exactly the same thing we follow in a human relationship. So for example, if there are two friends, be it about two friends, mother or daughter, or mother or father, or in general any two human beings, it's exactly the same way that if we are displaying any of the negative behavior. For example, if you are displaying any of the negative, I'm so sorry, just a minute. Any of us, for example, if I am displaying any of the negative behavior, for example, I'm shouting at you and you're taking it, you're not really replying back, you're not saying anything, you're not showing your let's say discomfort, or that probably you're not so happy with the kind of behavior I've shown. I'll keep on repeating it and I'll keep on showing it to you all over again every time whenever the situation occurs. So that is something, again, when it's applied in dog training, it's exactly the same way. That, for example, when we're teaching the dog, as you said, for a sit or a down or a stay or anything, if we keep on giving additional commands to the dog thinks, okay, they're probably requesting, let them request for 5 times today. Then today I'm in a mood to at least hear, sit or down or stay at least for 7 or 8 times. Then it's when probably I'll go into the certain sort of a command. So that's actually a pretty nice one. I just read a comment by Prathamesh also. It's over here. So he said if salary, the reward system, the dog is able to quantify it, marker system falls into the place. Obviously, so today's topic is not really about marker or clicker training, but it actually goes a long way where we're not consistently telling the dog. So I've also actually personally seen a lot of people, obviously because of the lack of knowledge, and for obviously we cannot expect pet owners to be as knowledgeable as trainers, because we've done a number of courses, we work with dogs. But instead of asking the dog to repetitively say in the very first session, sit, 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 when the dog doesn't even know what a sit means, it will actually spoil the training and the motivation of the dog. So that's what actually you had also correctly put it, that we have to first make sure that we're marking the behaviors, and then we're getting the cue into the picture when the dog starts to understand. Yeah, sorry.
Stop.
Yeah, yeah, sorry, over to you.
No, I'm joking. But I want to say something very powerful about
Right,
that. Again, in operant conditioning, the dog is doing something in a spontaneous behavior. What the dog is doing, we like, and we will reinforce that. So there, our marker is coming in place. What the dog is doing, and we like it, we will reinforce, and we're gonna mark that behavior. It's
right,
only, it's only when the dog is doing that we're gonna name it, because
right,
otherwise, like you
correct,
say, sit, 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 and the dog is just standing up. Well,
right,
the dog will think that sit, sit, sit means don't move and just stand up.
right, right.
Now, marker. We spoke about this in one of the coming topics, and I believe it's very important. So, if you allow
Right.
me, Shushti,
Yeah, yeah,
I would
please,
like, I
please,
would,
please,
okay,
please.
marker training. What is a marker? Okay, let's do the test, Tristy. Can
Mm.
you say yeah?
Yeah,
Okay. Now I'm gonna say yeah.
okay.
How does your yeah sounds early in the
Oh, yeah,
morning
yeah, yeah. Right, right, right.
versus late at night?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. Makes sense. Right.
But hold on. Let me check. Pockets. No. Okay. I don't have one with me. A clicker. A
Right,
clicker. A clicker makes a click,
right.
and that click has the same volume.
Correct. True.
That click does not show emotions.
Right. True. That's
That
true.
that click is click, 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 click. Nothing
Right,
less, nothing more.
right,
It's like dancing. You know,
right, right, right,
your clicker can be your marker, or your clicker is your marker.
right,
If the dog is doing something that we like, we will click, and after the click, we will reward the dog.
right,
Now, before we can use our clicker as a marker where the dog understands the meaning of the marker as a reflex response, which means that I hear click, I jump to Joris because Joris is going to give me food because he
right,
clicked.
right,
How do we get to the click? We spoke about operant conditioning. Now we have to make the other direction to classical
mm-hmm.
conditioning.
Right,
In classical conditioning, we have a known signal. The known signal for the dog is food,
okay,
because food is the primary reward. Food is existential for the dog to survive.
right,
If the known signal for the dog is food, then we can create a new unknown signal. The new unknown signal is going to be my clicker.
Right, right.
So when the dog hears the click, and then short time later, he will receive a piece of food, and we do that in multiple repetitions, on a certain moment, when we click, the dog is going to say, "Where's my food?"
Right, right.
How do we test if we have a reflex response? If the
Right.
dog is running around without paying attention to us, if you click and the dog makes a U-turn and he's flying to you and he's jumping in your arms for his food, then you know two things. Three. You know that the dog understands the clicker.
Right,
You know that the dog has ignition and dopamine because he wants to please himself
right,
by receiving food.
right.
Why does a dog do? A dog does to better his own situation.
True.
Give
Correct,
me food. Food is filling my tummy. When my tummy is full, I survive.
correct.
Okay? And
True.
the third thing, when he's coming back to me, I have a feeling and a moment that I feel important.
Right,
But I can't show that too much because if I
right,
show too much emotions, the dog is going to take advantage of that.
right, right.
I want to say something else. I see that our friend, our brother from a different mother, Patrick Lockett from Germany, is watching.
Yeah. Yes, yes. He's watching too.
Patrick was on this forum a while ago. Patrick, his words are very powerful. Patrick and I, we went on the same boat through the same deep sea.
All right.
We went to a life-changing event. That life-changing event was the Nipo Post School from Michael and Bart Ballon.
Right,
Everything that I say and everything that Patrick says, we both say it in our own words,
right.
but we are using the words from Michael and Bart.
All right.
It is, it is our holy book.
Yeah.
They are the gods, we are the apostles. We bring our story. I say things slightly different than Patrick, but that's
Right.
good because otherwise you don't have to ask me on this forum. Then we can just share Patrick his interview.
Patrick's live session. Right,
No,
right. Makes
voilà.
sense. Makes sense. That's true. That's true. That's true.
Thank you, Kashi. I see that. I see that Kashi says thank you, Kashi.
Yeah.
It is my pleasure. I am here to help the people from India. I am here to share knowledge. Gaining knowledge is having people that are willingly to share.
Right.
You
That's true.
can
That's true.
you can watch YouTube, you can read books. That's not doing everything. I wish
That's
that we could do a hands-on dog training, but
definitely.
unfortunately, due to the COVID-19 in the
Yeah.
world, that is not possible right now.
Yeah, it has actually ruined a lot of plans, but we will definitely, for all the viewers who are watching, we will definitely, obviously not this year, but probably sometime next year, we'll definitely plan to have Joris on board with us for a personal, one-on-one session where he comes over in India, and all of the viewers who are, enjoying and liking all the knowledge and insights, Joris is sharing, he would be here for a seminar, and he would be, helping us in a lot more detail on the usual training related queries and how to train dog, be it for general, if it's for pet related, general obedience or behavior, and even for some advanced work. So we'll just move on to our next question, which is by Kiran. So he's asking how to use the training strategy to get the dog to leave the toy without killing its prey drive.
Okay. I don't believe that outing a toy or the reward can kill the drive
Right.
if you do not over punish or over correct your dog.
Right.
It's all part of a building up thing. Again, I'm
Right.
going to come back to my clicker. I'm going to come back to my foot. If my dog has a ball in his hands,
Mhm.
and I ask him to out, and he outs, I give him food.
Right.
If I have food in my hand and I have a ball in my hand,
Mhm.
and he's choosing the ball above the food,
Mhm.
then I don't give him the ball, but I don't give him the food neither,
All
and
right.
I stop training.
Right.
If my dog is on a bite, if I click, for example,
Mhm.
I want him to come out of that bite and come back to me for his reward.
Right.
Now that is building up. That is building up. And why do I say that?
Mhm.
If the dog outs the toy, I might give him another toy. But it cannot become a game.
Mhm.
You out toy one, you get toy two.
Right.
Because dogs with a big drive, with a big heart, on a
Mhm.
certain moment,
Mhm.
if they can grab both toys,
Mhm.
then what? Then you have to choke them off, or then you have to pinch them, or doing
Right.
whatever.
Right.
If from the beginning, if the dog knows that the toy is
Mhm.
something that you give to him and he
Mhm.
needs to earn that
Mhm.
by
Mhm.
respecting you,
Mhm.
then you will never have a problem by with leaving or with outing.
Correct.
If all
Right.
if all if all that you do is
Mhm.
throwing that ball and the
Mhm.
dog can do whatever with that ball and however and
Right.
time
True.
wise he can make the rules,
True.
of course, he's going to say, hey, this is mine.
Yeah. That's true.
He will become possessive.
True.
He will
That's true.
be too possessive because you allowed him to be too possessive.
Right.
If from day one there are rules, if from day one the dog knows I can go left and I can go right, but
Right.
I need to stay in my quadrants,
Correct. Correct. Right.
then there's no problem.
True. All right.
So
So I think yeah.
a very difficult question to answer, but also a very easy one. Now,
Right.
I gave the easy answer for me,
Right.
which might be the difficult response for other people.
No, no.
Okay?
I think yeah, yeah. I think Kiran. So that I think helps you and to better your understanding on
Coffee.
how to teach out to the dog without killing the drive. And as Patrick mentioned, if sorry, Joris mentioned, if it's done the right way, then obviously it has nothing to do with killing the drive. So if at all you have any further queries, you can always by the end of the session, I will also make sure to share Joris Instagram and Facebook handle so that you can directly reach out to him for further queries and then probably take a virtual session or some further guidance on the same. Now moving on to another question, which is actually a very interesting question: bribe versus reward. So that is another thing. I've also been asked by a lot of dog owners that how to make sure when to make sure that we have to put a full stop on giving food, and does any time the food that we're giving thinking that it's reward for the dog, does it any time turn out to be bribe for the dog, that the dog would now just be dependent on food, that probably when the food is around the dog will listen, and when the food is not around the dog will not listen. So
Yeah.
how to maintain that, basically, that difference.
We have bribing, we have luring,
Mhm.
we have shaping.
Right.
If I need to show you the money before I can make you doing something, then I'm bribing you to do something for me.
Right.
Because if I don't have the money, you will say, hey, no money, me no speak English. Me no speak. Okay?
Right. Yeah.
So I understand that if you have a new dog, a young puppy, or a dog coming from a shelter or something, I understand that the seeking of the attention
Mm-hmm.
can be done by bribing.
Right.
It's like if we have a pyramid, it's like the bottom level in the help part of the pyramid.
All
But
right.
if every time that I see you, I show you the bowl with food and the food is in and I make noises to have your attention, then there is something wrong.
Right.
Now, less worse than bribing is luring. In luring, we will have a piece of food and we will show the dog, we will guide him to what we want him to do.
Right.
Coming in between our legs, spinning
Right.
around to the left, spinning around to the right, coming in
Right.
front of us.
Right.
Again, again, too much luring is gonna lock up a dog.
Right.
I will come back to bribing in a minute. So we went from bribing to luring,
Mm-hmm.
and now we go to shaping. In shaping, operant conditioning, we let the dog create a spontaneous behavior that we like or that we dislike. What we like, we will positively reinforce with our marker as our clicker, and our dog will understand. I heard a click. I heard a click. I heard a click. Food is coming. Sometimes the dog doesn't even know what he did,
Right.
and by self by self discovery,
Mm-hmm.
the dog can do it again. Hold
No.
on. I talk too much. I talk too much. I'm sorry.
We don't mind.
So bribing. I am not a fan of bribing. I'm against bribing. I will do bribing only once to make the dog to understand that, hey, me, I am important. If
Right.
you please me, I will please
Right.
you with your food, or with your
Right.
bowl,
Right.
or with your baitak.
Correct.
Okay?
Correct.
Some people only do bribing, and some people are perfectly happy with the dog that they bribe. It's like an IPO or a Schutzhund or IPG. If you always put the bowl under your armpit, and the dog is a perfect healing, he's fussing in a perfect way. But if the ball goes away, the dog becomes an uneducated species. So watch out with bribing, watch out with luring. A better way is free shaping and reward the behaviors that you like in that free shaping moment.
Right. Correct. All right. So I think that answers Anand's question. We have another very interesting question by Kenneth Fernandez. So he's asking, would you use negative punishment or positive punishment if your dog is over aroused just by looking at other dogs?
So to work on dog reactivity with other dogs, because that is what Kenneth is saying, if he's over aroused just by looking at other dogs, if he looks to another dog, he cannot look to me.
Right.
I don't want my dog to look to other dogs. I want my dog to have focus on me. Now, the focusing on me, if I reward with food as a positive reinforcer, yes, I can take that food away as a negative punishment.
Right.
Now, the question that we have to ask ourselves is, how powerful is my food? If your dog has that real reactivity to other dogs,
Mhm.
then your negative punishment is not going to make any sense.
Right. True.
Then I would go into something like positive punishment. But
Mhm.
if I have dog reactivity,
Mhm.
I use my flexipole.
Right.
Bart, back in the days, he made a flexipole, and now I have the quadrant canine flexipole. We adapted that over the past 10 years. We put a spring on to absorbing more the pressure. We put a
Right.
quick release on if we do bite work that we unclip the dog from the flexipole. So
All right.
my positive punishment here on that moment would be having my dog attached on a flexipole, on a pinch collar, and if he looks to the other dog, okay, but after looking becomes reacting. So if
Right.
he reacts to the other dog, he will feel that pinch collar and that pressure in his neck,
Mhm.
but the correction will come from the pinch collar on the flexipole.
Right.
It's not gonna come from me.
Right. True.
The dog
Correct.
is building up the own pressure because problem is
Right.
dogs that react to other dogs get corrected by the people, and then not only you have dog reactivity, but you also create leash
You.
reactivity
Right. 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 Right.
because you are holding that leash,
True.
and
Correct.
the dog knows that you hold that leash.
Right.
Now, if I use the pinch collar and the flexipole,
Mhm.
and the dog is not reacting or not looking to the other dog,
Mhm.
and I'm standing on the other side,
Mhm.
and I have my clicker, I have my marker, and the dog is not freaking out, I can mark that behavior, and the dog comes to me, and I give him his food as a positive
Right.
reinforcer for not having
Right.
to use the positive punishment of the pinch
Right.
and flexible.
Correct. That's actually a very, very nice and interesting point because that.
I can't say too much because normally I charge people money for that information. So
No, no, obviously that makes sense. That makes sense. So I was actually just
only for India.
thank you so much. I was actually just looking up for some photo of you training the dog on the flexi pole, so I could just show it to the viewers what exactly it looks like, just for their some sort of clearer and better understanding. I'm actually unable to find it, but anyone who's really keen on knowing what exactly is a flexi pole can actually head to Joris's Facebook page, and he would be able to actually show it to you, and you'd be able to, I think, just see a lot of his training videos. Also, he's been training puppies on a flexi pole, so that's actually a pretty nice and pretty interesting point on how to work on the leash reactivity. Yeah.
If people go to my Instagram Quadrant Canine,
Mm-hmm.
if they like and follow, then they
Mm-hmm.
have access to all the pictures and videos, and
Right.
then I also can give them pictures or videos about how to use it. So I'm willingly to do
Right.
that for the people here watching on Dogspot.
Right. So I am just sharing for the people. I'm just sharing your. I think that's the one, or do I need to?
Yes, yeah,
That's the one, right?
that's the
Yeah. So
Instagram.
yeah, that's Joris's Instagram page. You can just search it on Instagram, just follow him, and he keeps on sharing a lot of nice, informative, and really interesting training videos. I'm sure you'd be able to understand what all everything that he's talked about in this live session. You'd be able to see all of his work, have a clearer understanding, and then obviously if you have any query, you can just feel free to drop him a DM, and that's the link of his website as well, in case you would want a more clearer information in terms of what actually the kind of work he does and the kind of services he has. You can also go through it. I think we are more or less good to go for today's session. We've covered almost all the topics and all the questions, and these are a couple of I'll just quickly read through all the amazing comments that have been shared by the viewers. So Mitali says today's session was more for human understanding and a much needed one. Thank you so much. Thanks, Mitali, for
Hold
tuning
on,
in.
hold on. I want to say something about that.
Mhm.
If we don't love ourselves, we cannot love. We cannot love the dog.
Right,
So if we do not understand what we are doing,
right.
how can we understand what is the dog doing? You know?
Correct. True, true. That's true. That's true. That's true. Uh, then we have Mona Lisa. Thanks for the fabulous session. That was great to understand the quadrant approach. Thank you, Mona Lisa, for joining in. Kiran says,
Gracias.
Kiran says thank you. So you actually answered one of Kiran's question. So he, I think, got it, and he's thanking you for it. Anand really liked the approach, that you have, the way you represent and answer to all of the queries. Harshit also has joined us. He is really great with dogs. He has some really intense and immense amount of knowledge when it comes to dogs or working dogs in general. So he also tuned in for today's session. He also loved it. Then we have uh, again Kenneth saying thank you, awesome session, thank you for all the information. Sunita Pundir ma'am, thank you so much for joining in. We had a very interesting comment by Patrick. I missed it. Yeah, so Patrick actually said a dual seminar with me and Joris live in India. So yes, for so yeah, for all the viewers that actually joined in today, stay tuned to Quadrant Canine's page and Petarchy's page as well. We're actually planning something very, very interesting for all the trainers and for all the pet enthusiasts in India. We are planning something really exciting. It could have been planned this year, but again, thanks to COVID, it actually ruined all of our plans, not just trainers, but I think most of the industries got affected because of it. Yeah, you want to say something, Yoris?
I want to say a lot.
Yeah, please do.
Um, the United States of America is a big country.
Right,
India is one of the biggest countries in the world.
right.
I believe that 1/4 of the world population is in India. I'm not sure if India is ready for a dual seminar between
Right,
Joris Kerckhof and Patrick Lockett.
right, right,
Because if we do that,
right.
let's make it a triple seminar.
True, true, makes
No,
sense. That's
no,
true.
let's do it a triple seminar. Let's do Joris Kerckhof, Patrick Lockett, and
Right,
Hans Verbruggen.
sure, definitely,
Hans Verbruggen is one of Michael and Bart, their guys. Hans is from
right,
Belgium. So
right.
let's do the three of them.
Definitely, definitely. We'll definitely plan because I think a lot of people, especially after today's life, a lot of people really like your approach and how you explain everything in a very simplified way. So we'll definitely plan it. So all the viewers, just make sure you follow both of our handles. Stay tuned with all the updates. And Harshit here is saying, don't be surprised if you're kidnapped from Texas tomorrow.
Oh, hey, watch
All
out!
right.
Watch out! In Texas, we have our guns. Watch out!
And your dogs. Some really hard hitting dogs as well. Yeah. All right. So that's it for today, folks. I hope you really enjoyed us. I mean, enjoyed today's session, and especially having yours on board. Just if at all you feel that it was informative, and if you feel that it's going to help any of your friends or anyone has dogs and is facing a certain sort of issue with any of the topics that we've discussed today, please feel free to share it further with your friends across on the social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and just stay tuned. Follow Dogspot, follow Quadrant K9, follow Pet RT to stay updated with all of a lot more live sessions and seminars that we're planning in future. So stay tuned. I hope you liked it. Have a very good evening and a good morning to yours. It was, I think, I hope you liked today's session, and I think it was a great start for you, to actually kickstart today's, day. So I greetings from India and thank you from all of us for joining in. We really enjoyed having you over, and we look forward to host a couple of more sessions and have you over in India with us.
Okay, so I want to thank everybody watching, out of the deepest of my heart, all my respect for the Indian people, and I would love to come to India very soon. So thank you, thank you,
Thank,
thank you.
thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. All right. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Bye bye. See you. Bye, Joris.
Bye bye.
Bye.